and welcome to the channel. Thank you to everyone who has supported me so far, providing all the advice, suggestions. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who subbed. You make a big difference and I can see how many people have subbed. I appreciate it. So today's video is going to be all about discussing the real cost of buying and fixing up my motorhome, the shocks and surprises that came with it all, and just the whole experience, just to give a bit of a real feel for how much everything costs, because there's a lot of surprises that come in there and it's something I feel like young campers in particular don't really tend to discuss. Here is my take on how much a motorhome costs as a young person. So I bought my motorhome back in April of this year for £9,000. I knew it was going to have a lot of things wrong with it, or I expected as much, because it was basically being sold as a fixer-upper. I knew there was going to be problems. The MOT was about to run out, so it had 2 weeks left on the MOT. So one of the major things I would say if you're buying a motorhome is, first, if you live in the UK, look on the .gov website, check the MOT history of a vehicle, because that is a lifesaver. Honestly, you can check what is wrong with it before you buy it. Someone might be trying to sell it and it's got tons wrong with it. You can estimate how much it is going to cost you before you buy the vehicle. And I definitely relied on that quite a lot when I was searching for a motorhome or camper van. So I would definitely recommend looking at that beforehand. And also, before buying a motorhome, think of the size. So that was one of the main things that I was looking at. I didn't want something massive. I have never drove a massive vehicle. I have had like a small sized car up until now. I wanted something that would fit relatively in the parking bay, which this motorhome does in most UK sized parking bays. So it's great for me. Also, think about road tax before you get a motorhome. That was something I never even considered. So for the small size of my motorhome, it came to £345, which is normal for a motorhome. Like, there's only two price points. So one is for like the smaller size, the other was for the big. So mine just came in just under the limit. But yes, I would definitely look at that beforehand. So £345 was one of my first costs, other than the cost of the actual motorhome. Then it was looking at insurance. So I would definitely recommend looking at insurance before you buy a vehicle. Get as many quotes as you can. One thing for me, I didn't realise how difficult it would be for a young person to get motorhome insurance. They make the system so that you can't really under the age of 25. I'm currently 23, so this was extremely difficult and I didn't realise until I started ringing the insurance providers. If you are under 25, some under 30 even, when I was ringing them, won't offer you insurance. So my options significantly decreased very quickly as I was going through all these insurance providers. So obviously I have no claims on my vehicle, my car. This cannot be transferred to a motorhome. So you're starting off with zero no claims discount anyway, which is going to hike the price up. I was very lucky to be able to get motorhome insurance. So overall, the cost of my insurance came to £933, which to me seems extortionate. Even with like the inflation and everything, it was a lot of money to process. I was not expecting it. I thought the most I would be spending would be on fixing up the motorhome, not on actually paying for insurance by itself. So the insurance came to £933. This included breakdown cover and EU travel for up to 90 days, which is pretty great. I'm now happy with it, although it took a long time to process that kind of cost. And I'm hoping that'll decrease over the years because of no claims discount being built up. So I'm looking forward to a smaller cost. By this point, I have bought the motorhome. I paid £9,000 for it. After first getting it, obviously the first thing I needed to do was get it fixed up. We noticed some problems. Reversing lights were not working, meaning it's not roadworthy. and the windscreen wipers were also not working. So neither were good. I knew I needed to get it sorted out immediately. I was in a mad rush to find a garage that could actually take it, because one thing I never took into account before getting a motorhome is not all garages are able to or will take on a motorhome. Mainly due to size, also due to if it's electrical work, they won't take it on. So the garage that I usually take my car to, they couldn't take it because of the size. The electrical problem became a big issue, as many garages only deal with mechanical faults. I had loads of problems with lots of different garages. I think I rang about 10 garages. I rang auto electricians. The wait was absolutely insane. You were waiting about 2 weeks to even see them, and I was like, that's not feasible because it needs to have its MOT in 2 weeks. So I wouldn't even be able to drive it to them because then they can't do the MOT themselves. It was pretty much a nightmare. I even rang caravan and motorhome medics, but they only deal with the habitation side of things, so the things back here, meaning that they don't deal with any vehicle problems. It was pretty tricky, but I eventually found a garage that would look at all these problems for me, and not have a long wait. So that was what I ended up going for. Once I had it in the garage, it ended up being there just over 2 weeks before I got it home. It was a bit of a nightmare. There was a bit of lack of communication and discussion, which I wasn't used to, because my usual garage that I took my car to, they always rang me and discussed any problems, the cost of things beforehand, and that just kind of didn't happen with this one. So after the first week, I ended up going down to visit the garage every few days to try and see if anything was being done, try and talk to people. And after 2 weeks, they eventually told me that they couldn't find the parts for the vehicle. So this is another thing I'd tell people to look out for. If you are buying an older vehicle, such as mine is a Fiat Ducato 1998. If you are buying an older vehicle, look at whether you can still get the parts, because most of them aren't manufactured still, and you might struggle to find the parts. By this point, by the time I'd been told that they couldn't find the parts, I asked them to give me a list of the things that I needed to find exactly. I went home, did a quick Google, and found a company that would sell me these parts. So it's absolutely not sponsored, but I could not recommend and thank Coastal Motorhomes enough, because they sell parts for motorhomes online. And after a quick Google search, I found them. They were one of the first suggestions that popped up. So I rang them, they talked me through the parts that were suitable for my vehicle, could find all the parts that I needed. It cost £51, and they arrived within 2 days, and that was without the express delivery. So as soon as that arrived, I took the parts down to the garage, and they were able to fix it within a day. So by the time it was fixed, obviously it ran out of MOT by this point. I had rang another garage to see if they could get it in for an MOT. I ended up driving it straight to the other garage for the MOT, which you're allowed to do. If your MOT is run out, you can drive it to the garage where it is going to be MOT'd. This then cost me £39 for the MOT itself. They did find problems, so the extra problems were the rear brake shoes needed replacing, the ball joint had to be replaced, which meant that the suspension arm also needed to be replaced with it. And once this had been completely replaced, they would need to alter the tracking. So that came to probably the biggest cost, which was £516. But it all got done in 3 days. So I was really pleased about that. I was willing to fork out the money to get that fixed. And we got it home. So eventually the motorhome is home after about 3 weeks approximately. Once I got it home, I bought a new cowl for the roof. It was missing, it was a cowl cap, so it was missing off the top. I'm guessing it kind of got knocked off by a branch or something like that when someone was driving the previous owners. The cowl cap I bought off eBay for £15, which I didn't think was bad at all. And after I bought this, I then went on and started with the reseal work and with cleaning it. So I knew when I bought it, and with its age, that it was probably going to need a lot of resealing. So I looked into buying Sikaflex. It's Sikaflex 522 if you want the specific product. I bought this off Amazon in kind of anticipation that there was going to be things that needed resealing, and I was correct. So after we got it home, we replaced the cowl cap. I then proceeded to clean it from top to bottom, and noticed that actually the dirt and grime that was all over the roof was kind of holding on the really old sealant. So as soon as I started wiping this and brushing it and give it a full clean, I noticed there was patches that needed resealing. So very grateful I did think ahead and buy the Sikaflex, because that was a lifesaver. Honestly, the Sikaflex is a bit more expensive than other brands, but I absolutely cannot recommend it enough. I've used it to reseal the entire top of the motorhome down both sides, the overcab at the front all the way around and down beside the doors, and also around the wires and the skylights on the roof. So it's done an amazing job. Sikaflex sealant only comes in black, which honestly wasn't an issue for me, because I only really needed the black sealant to go around the sides anyway, so it was fine. It looks lovely. I'm happy with it. It costs £15 on Amazon, which is a bit more expensive than other brands, but it's got a really good reputation. So at the same time as buying the Sikaflex, I also bought some Everbuild stick saw off Amazon. This was £10.50, mainly because the Sikaflex only comes in black. The Everbuild stick saw comes in white, so I was thinking ahead, if I need any white to reseal places, then it'd be great. It ended up being really good because one of the windows seems to have had problems in the past. Someone's tried to reseal it, but kind of done a bit of a gammy job, so I wanted it redoing, just mainly for visual purposes, but also thinking ahead to the future, it might cause problems. So if we do a good job now, at least it'll be sorted. So I used that to reseal the window, and haven't had any problems. I mean, it wasn't leaking before, and it's now working fine. So it looks lovely as well, which is great. So to show what the sealant looks like now, the new black sealant is personally my favourite. I will show it now. So basically this part over the overcab had a bit of black sealant that was all over the place. We made it a bit thicker, so that one, it was cleaner, but also it just looks a bit nicer. So we did it all the way over the overcab just to make sure everything was sealed, and it looks nice and new. So from the MOT, I also know that there was one advisory that wasn't able to get sorted because it would need a body repair shop, and they don't do like that kind of repair at the garage itself. So it was some corrosion under the passenger side, near side, wheel arch that needs looking at. I am planning to get that looked at, but probably after the summer season now, because things are just quite busy. I'd rather get my use out of the motorhome and then get it all fixed up. It's not an immediate problem. I have no idea how much that is going to cost, so please factor in that that is not in the cost that I am showing today of everything that I've fixed so far. Most of the things have been fixed. There was nothing to fix inside, thankfully. Everything looks amazing inside. I'm really happy with it. So this can stay all the same. It was just basically the sealant and things that I've done myself, as well as what the garage has done. So including the cost of getting it fixed by the garages, the two garages that I went to, plus all the sealant, the cowl cap that went on the roof, and the MOT, that came to £858.50, which honestly I was expecting a bit more. I was expecting more problems, if I'm being honest, especially with the MOT. I knew for a fact that the previous owners hadn't used it very much due to ill health before they sold it, so it'd kind of been sat there for absolutely months, probably about half a year, without being used at all. So I'm very pleased that didn't come to the cost that I was expecting. But obviously the cost of the wheel arch corrosion is likely going to be the biggest cost. So after adding up all the overall cost of everything, The motorhome costs £9,000. The road tax costs £345. The insurance, including breakdown cover and EU travel up to 90 days, costs £933. And the cost to fix it up, including the sealant and everything that was done at the garage, cost £858.50. So the overall cost of absolutely everything that I have spent so far on it, not including like things that I have bought inside the motorhome, like food and stocking up on like duvets, things like that, not including that cost, I have spent just over £11,000. It comes to £11,136.50. So overall, I think it's an excellent motorhome. The cost of it is quite excellent as well. It's definitely below the average, I would say, for people buying motorhomes now. So originally when I planned to buy a camper van, I was looking at camper vans first, and my budget was about £8,000. I quickly realised that wasn't feasible whatsoever. You're looking at camper vans and VW transporters, for example, which are approximately from 2001, and they're costing about upwards of £15,000, and they've got over 200,000 miles on the clock, and I just thought it's not worth it. So I branched out my search, increased my budget to about 10,000, and eventually, after months and months of searching, I found this motorhome, and for now it is pretty amazing. I'm sure there'll be lots of things that pop up over time, lots of surprises that come with a quirky old vintage vehicle, but for now it is amazing. And thank you to everyone who has offered some advice, support, feedback. I appreciate it all. Please also leave down in the comments places that you would recommend I go to in the motorhome. That would be amazing. Trying to find places to stay overnight has been probably my biggest fear. So thank you for watching this video, and if there are any more questions, please drop them down in the comments section and I will try to answer everyone's questions. So thank you for watching, and I will see you again. Bye!